Now, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. After hard training, endless hours of trying, I nearly did it and managed to start our intro, which is normally the task and one of the favorite roles from Thomas, who is still sailing the Sea of Cortes. And hopefully enjoying lovely weather, fantastic wind, and a fun time in the middle of nowhere where he has no internet and he has at least 4 ladies around him, which would love to have their TikTok or whatsoever at their service, at least part-times.
I'm not sure he wants to be on that boat for the full 2 weeks in that case.
Well, I would say there are, at least in my expectation, some harbors where by accident you might have an internet access. Yeah, and then the world can be sorted.
Yeah.
Talking about the world being sorted, this is our 132 CRM conversation. We make progress, and we have, as a big surprise, expert out of a very vivid scene. And we will take also the opportunity to look into the crystal ball a bit, such as what do we have to expect from the next year. As one of his areas of expertise is the digitalization of marketing and sales in organizations. Welcome, Norbert Schuster, our expert of today. Norbert, it's a great fun to have you with us. And I would like to give you an opportunity to tell us a bit and our audience about yourself and your way through the last at least 20 years where we know each other. So a bit of stuff to manage.
All of the 20 years.
Just in 1 hour.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
Yes.
Today I'm a consultant, an author, a speaker, and trainer for the digitalization in marketing and sales with hot topics like marketing automation, lead management, buyer persona, customer journey, and all that stuff.
Okay. How did you develop and got yourself in that role?
Mm-hmm.
As there is some time span, which I only can encourage you to talk a bit about, such as I know you not from the time when you did desktop publishing, but you rang a bell that there were opportunities where we could have met earlier,
Mm-hmm.
because the first time in my awareness and conscious, we were introduced, if I'm not mistaken, by Christian Schwert, whom we had today, and you were my mental tutor of getting involved into mind mapping.
Mm-hmm.
What was before mind mapping and Mindjet?
Mm-hmm. At Mindjet, I was responsible for the European market. And before I started at Mindjet, I sold a software called Ragtime. It was about business publishing. It was a mixture of Office and InDesign, and a great tool. And before I started that, my first sales job was selling CRM systems.
Wow.
It was called Venus, and at that time we used DBase and Clipper. So I'm a dinosaur in the CRM area. And this was the start of my sales career.
Yeah, that's back in like the first and second generation of CRM products. You would have been competing against Goldmine and Act.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But there was no real hype about CRM systems, so it was very hard selling that systems, and that was a reason for me to change, to step in the business publishing area and selling ragtime.
Very good.
And it's interesting to remember that in that time, there were still players like Update Marketing with their marketing manager as a competitor. And you have before also the expertise, because in those days where we dinosaurs were already in the CRM arena, hardware was very important, such as to have fast hardware, to have a dedicated, let's say, adoption to the hard disk drives, which is fitting to the Gupta or the Oracle database. And at that time, still Btrieve was a well-known and highly utilized and intensively utilized database. Yeah.
And unfortunately, that was before the flat screens came up. And so we have to carry very big and heavy stuff to our customers to show them our solution.
Yeah, well, if you want to have an audience and you could not afford at that time 20,000 D-Mark, which or euro is 10,000 euros in worth, beamer with you, which could easily be as enlightening a room like a good torch. Yeah, if you buy a solid torch these days, it's lighter and brighter than the beamers of those days, and you had to use dedicated screens to get at least a bit on the screen to show. So therefore, in the early days, 19-inch monitors with 25 kilograms were more or less, heavy muscle was utilized aside of enough brains. Yeah,
I remember back in those days, I was still writing consumer electronics reviews, which included televisions and monitors. So changing out products to look at them made me beefy. And it explains why I have back problems now. But wow, those things were heavy. It's like carrying an air conditioner.
Yeah. And you then became in the roles of mind mapping, Mindjet, which has been so 2 years ago, as we recalled together in the chit chat before the show, by Coral. And Coral has taken the role in the lead after purchasing the company and getting it, let's say, even that it is a Canadian company, a bit more Americanized in a way of hire and fire, and unfortunately in quick and dirty money, more quick than dirty. But if you see their selling attitude these days, it is no longer the way I have known, and I liked the attitude they are progressing, even that it is a fabulous product and I honestly love it. But in the old days, it was for me as a journalist easier to manage, to get the newest license, and it was easier to get mind mapping exchange with knowledgeable people, such as the at that time owner from Benefit Consulting in Switzerland, Rudi Derwe, which was a real cool guy with doing a lot of hacks in integrating, as he was in the consulting business and training of HP in these days, how to integrate via mind mapping, where you did all your customer research, your buying center analysis, and then moving it over into via a connector to your dedicated CRM system, which you would like to utilize. Then I'm curious about, aside of your favor for mind mapping and your, let's say, you positively infected me and got that virus into me, that it is cool. You changed another time to a new adventure, and you were foreseeing very, very early that there is a benefit if you can do remote consultancy and remote service. So you became the co-founder of PC Visit. What were the abilities at that time for the product?
The challenge for me was setting up a new company.
Okay.
With a very modern and fitting to the time tool. So it was hard for everyone. If there's something wrong with your PC, someone always have to sit in the car and drive there and drive back. I lost the cable, I lost the tool, I have to go back and come again. And so it was the first time that it was very easy helping someone with his PC problems. Sharing the screen, and so in one direction helping someone, in the other direction showing something in the sales process, and so this was a great challenge setting up and helping the company grow.
At that time, we met with our favorite PR company gang, Als Publicandi, and I recall that we have visited you. At that time, Marshall, I haven't known, as I haven't visited him personally up front when he was at Mindjet, where for the heck Alzenau was. I never have been to Alzenau before that. And there I had the opportunity of a lifetime to go to Alzenau and had a presentation of how to present remotely to an audience of several people at different areas, something we would even just have a smile today for. Such what we are doing right now is more sophisticated than a lot of the technology which was able at that time. But it was a real fancy progress. And it was, to my liking, unfortunately, not valued enough from the markets at that time.
Yeah, I think it was quite a bit too early for the market. So we worked with our lawyers and change contracts and worked together on documents, and they loved it. But after we left the online session, they fell back in their old working style.
Oh,
and they again drove to the customer and didn't use that possibilities of the online tools. And if we take a look on our work today, everyone is working with Teams, and every session is with team. And even if you sit next to the next room, you work together in Teams. And so it was a bit early for the market.
When was it? Around which time frame?
2004. We started 2004.
Yeah. And I recall it right.
Just a bit too early.
Yeah.
Yeah, such as innovative technologies like the WAP protocol, WAP, and the opportunity to communicate a lot of technology via a smartphone, which was at that time still a dumb phone, not a smartphone. Yeah. But the early Nokias, the Banana or the 7110 were at that time absolutely high tech. And what is your favorite animal, Norbert?
My favorite animal? It has to be the elephant. And I think you know why.
Oh la la! I look into the back and I see a visualization of the strike2 logo.
Mm-hmm.
Help us.
It was a creation of a friend of mine. He's a designer. And at that time, we founded strike2 together with my wife, Uta. And we had more or less two roles. So one is on stage. That was her role, and I was a consultant. And so this phase is a stage phase.
Okay.
And let me try. This phase is a consulting phase. And so it's a combination of stage and consulting.
I see.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I was going to ask where strike2 came from. It's an interesting name. So,
yeah, today I'm not sure if this was a clever choice for a company name regarding the US market or the UK market. I'm not sure what's the exact meaning for an American, but at that time I was sitting in my car and thinking about a new company name, looking around the car and because since I was smoking at that time, there was a box of Lucky Strike.
Oh,
and I thought Lucky is no good company name, but what is the real meaning of strike? And I looked in the dictionary, and what I found is be enthusiastic about something. I'm not sure if this is an English idiom. In German, we say breaking a lance for something. And this was a meaning, and I thought this could be a good meaning. And because we were two people, then the name strike2 was born. So regarding baseball, I think the name is not so smart. Maybe regarding bowling, it could be a bit better.
Yes, well, more people should bowl.
So I'm
just thinking about translating my books to English, and maybe doing some consulting jobs in the future in the English-speaking area. Then I think I have to change the name.
Sorry.
Well,
something
is an opportunity, but if a brand is established, wait and see how it is received. The books, we mentioned already that you have been in books for a certain amount of time, such as it's always accompanying an act on stage and consultancy, extremely smart to present something to the audience where they can reread and read again what you have given them and information and in training content, such as Uta, as I know her, was in high-tech environment with large, sophisticated screens which had a touch ability and was presenting, for instance, as a training person on stage on shows like CeBIT, the features of mind map and how you could smarter mind map and cooperate and all this. And I was really impressed. This was previous to your marriage. And then you wrote together a book on the topic from mind mapping to business mapping, as some of your colleagues had developed a one-pager methodology to get all the important stuff on one page. And this was utilizing in large scale also the mind mapping. And then I recall that roundabout that book was one out of these 30 mini-series which I had in mind. Then you did Twitter for Managers.
Yeah.
And Twitter for Managers, I was therefore aware of that book because the CRM Expo one of the shows I was having a certain interest in. At that time already, I was the project manager, because I have changed the sites from being an advisor from the vendors board of advisors to the fair company and the organization who did all the preparations and that. I have changed to the project manager of the exhibition. And so it was my baby, and we were quoted, such as the Nuremberg fairs have done a lot of tweeting successfully and get a lot of involvement and engagement done in 2009, which was quite spectacular. And the folks from the Nuremberg Messe were taken by surprise, because they hadn't had a clue even how to write Twitter. Yeah? So this was our solid work, because we were always the early birds. Yeah, and that was really cool. So then we had an interesting talk about what one can do out of the experience in integrating, doing social CRM, doing CRM in other ways. And we came to the aspect that you have a clear view on what you call the waterhole methodology. Would you please explain? That is another hint to the elephant. What is the secret behind the waterhole strategy?
At that time, I looked around which systems and methodologies could help sales and marketing. And so I took a look at Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, and my wife said, if you're going to be up all night, write a book about it. So this was the reason I wrote a book about Twitter. And one of my first customers read the book and asked me to help for social media, setting up the Twitter account, YouTube, and a blog. And what they sold was marketing automation. So this was the first agency selling Eloqua and later on HubSpot in Germany.
And,
yes. And they asked me if I was able to write about that stuff. So I told them, okay, if you could explain it to me, then I could write it. And I read a lot of stuff from Eloqua, from Marketo, from HubSpot, and I tried to set that up in Germany, in the German market and in the German company size. And in Germany, there was not really a awareness for inbound marketing. So what we knew was inbound calls or outbound marketing, but the term inbound marketing was not so well known in Germany. And so because I think in pictures, and I try to explain complex issues in pictures, and I thought this is the best picture for inbound marketing. So imagine you're a guy earning your money with selling pictures, and someone gives you the order to deliver pictures of elephants. What can you do? You can walk through the desert, to the jungle, until you find one elephant. And this is the analogy for cold calls. You can do 300 cold calls until someone says, okay, send me some fact sheets. And the smarter way is to build a water hole and put enough water in this water hole. So the water hole are is a combination of your website, your LinkedIn profile, YouTube channel, Twitter, all your platforms, all build together the water hole. And the water is content. The more content you put in the water hole, the easier elephants can find you. And so this was for me the perfect picture to explain inbound marketing.
It's a very good picture. It makes excellent sense. And the joy of it is, while you're looking for those elephants, you may also find zebras that you didn't know were there.
Rhinos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's all depending on the buyer personas. And you're right. If you attract elephants, why not attracting also giraffes?
Of course. Giraffes got a drink too.
Yeah. It looks a bit funny.
It takes them some time to spread out the arms and put the neck down.
Yeah.
But, some customers need to be nurtured. It takes them time to get to you.
Yeah.
See, this metaphor just keeps on getting bigger and better. We can do this all day.
And I think later we also speak about the green bananas.
That would be my next approach, as we are in the jungle. And now we have found a lucky and happy photographer who is positioning himself in disguise at the waterhole, is having all the fun because he has all the animals as his waterhole. Now comes the expertise. He has also there some apes. And apes are brilliant, intelligent, and smart. And they prefer the proper food, which, if it's at its best, is a banana. Now we come to the interesting aspect, you mentioned, Marshall, of nurturing. Yeah, and that sound is cool, is coming to the right direction. But what I found out is, when you go to Costa Rica, where they have a very large amount of the banana plantations in the world, not in Africa, and it is quite interesting to see how many bananas are coming from South America, from the Dominican Republic, from Costa Rica, Ecuador, and then some from dedicated areas of the African continent, for instance, Somalia, where there come also a lot of exotic fruits of the highest quality, and mangoes and a lot of other stuff is coming from Somalia. I wasn't aware of, as to the aspect when my father had there a deployment from the German Center for Technology supporting GTZ, which is an organization which is founded by our government to support countries in the exterior. And that was interesting to see how bananas are going into a container and they are green. And then they come towards the land where they should be sold, and they are still green. And mostly when they come to the supermarket where you can buy them and you watch out carefully, you see the differentiation in partly green bananas, yellow bananas, the right ones, and then the brown bananas. And the brown bananas are only useful, let's say, for some milkshakes or some smoothies, but they are not as, let's say, still have their nutrition and are sweet, but they can get endangered. Now, the allegorismus, the picture on the part of our beloved customer journey. Now, Norbert, it's again your turn, and I would like to hear and learn about how green bananas and yellow bananas have to do with the customer journey.
So one issue by working together with marketing and sales is always the grade of a lead. So is a lead sales ready or not? And this is always a discussion. And as bananas need the transport time to get yellow, so it's the same with leads. So if you open a green banana and it won't taste, so is a banana damaged? No, it's too early. You open it too early, and it is the same with the leads. If you hand over the leads too early to sales, then that won't fit. So you have to nurture the leads until they are sales ready, until they are real MQLs, marketing qualified leads. And this is my way to explain the sales guys. Don't grab at that early leads. Give them time. They need time, and they need to be nurtured until they're really sales ready.
This explains why I was always such a bad salesperson. I like my bananas still a bit green. So, oops.
If you close the deal, this is no issue.
Right.
But most of the time, customers, you destroy opportunities if you grab too early.
Right. It's like asking someone to marry you on the first date. It's
Yes.
not the right time.
Yeah.
It was bad judgment.
Can work, but in a lot of
story
cases,
you want to tell us?
you just have to look for the divorce ratio to marriage ratio, and then you have an answer how it's smarter to wait for the yellow banana stage in proposing. Yeah. What a fantastic opportunity. This is as much fun as the kitchen model. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now we come back to that. Twitter for Managers was your first book. Now with the involvement and your smart and sharp-minded wife at your helping side and giving you the advice, if you spend so many hours, days and night, write a book. I get this was a motivation to write inbound marketing method.
No.
No.
The motivation was totally different. The motivation was I left the CRM business too early.
Okay.
And so I was not the guru for CRM. It's more or less you, Ralph. And
surprise.
I was quite sure that I wouldn't earn so much money with the inbound marketing book. But my idea was to write the first German book about inbound marketing. And the plan was to stay as long in this market until I rule the world.
Yeah. World leadership, such as ACME, world leadership, yeah, Weltherrschaft. And going for ACME, pinky and the brain approach, yeah, such as I go for I am the guy, I am the expert. You won another, let's say, winning perspective and getting the green banana to the yellow one, because from that you found out that lead management is also a not too well described way of making money more useful and getting sales people better supported. And you wrote a book about on lead management, the first one in German and in Germany as well. Again, an innovation. And you published it at the Lead Summit from the Vogel Group. So this was
Management Summit,
yeah, the Lead Management Summit. And then you got a book on lead management, a green one. And this was really cool, such as knowing at that time the waterhole strategy already, I had a clear view on why the book was green, such as get the banana to yellow, folks, and do it properly. Yeah?
And you know the color of my recent book?
It's yellow and orange.
It's yellow.
And the next one will have yellow with brown spots.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well,
you can put them on the shelf in order.
And if you go for the first edition of his latest book, Digitalization in Marketing and Sales, you will find that he has parts of the color in the which you could go for brown, because I have both books on my right side here on my reading, and those are my Bibles. What's on my right is those are my Bibles, and the first and the second edition have some differences, such as the book on marketing automation, which was the next one in row, came, and at that time he was co-writing and editing with Anne Schüller, who is very much coming from the loyalty marketing approach to several other areas of expertise, touchpoint management, touchpoint marketing, and then to go to the organizational view, she wrote about the orbit organization, such as if you want to do something new, you have to go to the orbit. So you have the perspective top down and see how organizations could develop. And her latest book is on people which have a certain approach of shaping the future, thought leaders, and forward thinking attitude, keeping people. So I feel and felt very comfortable in reading the marketing automation for existing customers version. And you develop that in a second edition and broaden the perspective also into the lead generation perspective and integrating the waterhole strategy. From writing books, this was in the first edition of the digitalization of marketing and sales, where you had also dedicated perspectives you were taking, and you opened with a lot of best practice cases and interviews in the second edition. What has developed further on? What is your perspective on the state of digitalization in marketing and sales these days in the year 2022?
So at the end of every year, think about if the market is closed now, if I'm too old for that stuff. But every year it's the same conclusion. We just on the beginning. So in Germany, we just begun with digitalization in marketing and sales. There's so much room to expand, and there are so much companies that not working with digital tools. They're still doing the old sales way with cold calls and the battle between marketing and sales, and hoping that someone deletes the internet and the good old days with the trade fairs come back. And so there's a lot to do in this area.
No doubt. So what would be a good starting point to get that happening, do you think? Is there one? Or do we just need to wait for the old generation to die?
No, I think there is one. I think the best way to start is finding out that giving the sales a tablet is not enough digitalization in sales.
Right, true.
C-level has to find, I think you say momentum. What are the possibilities? What is possible? Which results can be generated? And a lot of C-level is not in the. They don't know the momentum of digitalization in marketing and sales. And I think this is the first step to get awareness of the C-level. And I think the second step is generating empathy.
There's
very important.
Yeah, get to know your customer, get to know your potential customer, try to understand their pains, their goals, their decision criteria, and all that stuff. We have to gain more empathy in marketing and sales.
So you say, if I understand you right, or do a proper interpretation, that in creating a buyer persona, it is that you collect a lot of knowledge on your existing customers to make some suggestions for appropriate approaching to go into the emotional aspects of his buying intentions and address his emotions due to the DASG scheme, or what you have properly described in your books, that you utilize the emotional aspects of what makes people buy. Yeah,
it's a behavior preferences.
Yeah.
And I think it's not only the behavior preferences, it's also the I call it the deep persona profile.
Okay.
So if you Google persona, you often will find some, as I call it, one bullshit bingo one-pager persona, just about I don't know, the hobbies and the amount of.
Hello, HubSpot. Thank you for the scheme. We are grateful, but we go on.
You have to dig deeper. So a proper persona profile in the B2B area is about 6 or 8 pages. And it includes a lot of stuff like pain points, like decision criteria, like goals. You also can include the jobs to be done model. So
Very cool. Yeah.
Beside behavior preferences with the DISC or insight model, I also use the meta model of NLP. So you notice always two words: is he or she internal or external, in detail or global, and you can also use this for profiling your persona. And what I also do is doing a very, very deep benefit analysis to create. It's important for the right kind of call in sales, but it's also important for creating content for the nurture process and for the marketing automation. And it's not a digital tool. It's very old, but until today, I haven't found a customer using it in that depth.
Yeah, but it's very interesting to see that the usefulness of mapping, if it's mind map or you have your post-it or post-it like working together mappings in Miro or whatsoever, that this is the clue of success to create during the customer journey when you have the content and information phases, when he wants to get information to his needs, that you address properly the wording and the benefit selling of your solution or product or service in the words he would like to hear, which are beneficial to him as audience. If he is a blue one, a controller, a red one, hard tough guy, a marketing chap, which is in the yellow area, or a green one, which is in another field of emotion, so that you get the benefits and the emotion in a conjunction and alignment, and can address these four lines of information and make it to a successful, let's say, it is the bait which has to be tasty for the fish, and it doesn't have to be tasty for the one who is sitting in the boat and throwing out the fishing rod. Yeah,
this is a kind of a structure of a proper nurturing process. So pick them up with their pains and their goals, and then transform them to the direction of a marketing qualified lead.
Applause! This is a real rocket we have here. And my timekeeper was informing us that till now we have touched not all what you had in the preparation already mentioned, Norbert, that it is quite interesting to see through these processes and the books you have written and your career in consultancy, and that you have developed a lot of tools by yourself, such as driven by, and I worked with these tools. I was one of the lucky guys who got one of, because he lives gamification. He has a set of cards where you can extract in the group the findings of where are your unique selling propositions. So you get a clear view on where are your USPs you can talk about. And then you go into the deep profiling phases where we become real CSI pros about our potential candidates we would like to sell to and what their benefits might be. And then one can go on the basis of existing customers and get the profile even sharper, because what we learned by heart, we cannot build experiences. We can address the touch point and try to generate an emotion which creates then by the person which is reading or having a contact to us, creates an experience such as punctual delivery, good quality, use or ease of use, benefits, whereas we have marketed it and have promoted it. Yeah. Such as we are delivering on what we have promised. Then we have a good experience. And the rest is shit anyhow. Yeah? At least I have to use my hardly prepared cards in this show. Elsewise, people would have thought that I have forgotten them. And yes, I'm much in the future, as I was talking about, not 2022, but 20,022. And so I'm at least 20,000 years ahead. But, well, if you want to shape the future, you have to be far ahead. Now, coming to the aspect of looking into the so-called Kaffeesatz or the crystal ball, we have talked about that digitalization. Unfortunately, it's still in the kiddies' shoes if we go into the different countries. Can you help us, Marshall, a bit out of your perspective, how digitalization is progressing in the United States? Are they here in a leading role, or are they just doing flashy stuff and are at the basics as we are in Europe?
Well, it is America. So we are going to say that we're doing it better than everyone else. This is a lie. It is a false statement, but it's what will be said. For the most part, digitalization means doing the same shit, but with digital tools.
Okay.
You know, instead of working in a notebook, you're working on your computer. Instead of, writing your notes, you're speaking them into your phone and having them transcribed by artificial intelligence. We are starting to get to the point where we're actually using digital tech to do new things, but I'm having a little trouble thinking of what any of those new things are. The best example I can think of, can I think of a good example of it? No, I really can't. It's sort of depressing, really, that as much talk as we make about digitalization, we're still stuck in an old mode of operation. And that's why I was so cynical before about, do we need to let the old generation die off before we can start really doing things new? I mean, I would say that, even using things like video, marketing on, dare I say, TikTok or Insta, I mean, these are not especially big digital things, but they are a different means of communication using a digital tool. So that's probably the one that's had the most uptake. Maybe it's not that interesting to business people who are trying to sell digital tools, because let's face it, if you're using Instagram, it's free. If you're using TikTok, it's free. For the moment, if you're using Twitter, it's free. But let's wait on that one.
That stupid millionaire will have his fun and will dump a fortune again till he resigns.
Yeah, well, I probably won't have an account after today because of that, but
Do you think, Marshall, the American market would be open for method tools to step deeper in the digitalization, to make better nurture processes, to use the marketing automation better, to connect marketing and sales better?
Yes, I absolutely do believe that. One thing that has always done well with business is showing them a new method.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's something you can sell. Whether the business will pick up and really execute on that method really depends on how good you are at teaching it and training it. But we tend to be very accepting of at least, taking the education. Whether it sticks or not, that's always a problem. But we're willing to change.
Okay, so you can give me hope. If I improved my English, then I could also act as a consultant in the American market with my methods and tools.
Your English is excellent. Don't worry about it.
And what I would see is, as I'm a big fan and convinced at least 3 researchers to be taken on the integration of a sales methodology. You can name your favorite one and integrate it into a CRM system so that what you have trained and what you visualize at the customer journey and the touch points to utilize a proper tool in journey orchestration, that the sales and the marketing folks and the service, not to forget, have always a clear view and where we are in the process. Yeah. And I believe that German users will be quite reluctant, but if you have some new hot shit and it would be coming with some eye on it around, and it's from Apple, then we could sell nearly every method. Yeah. So Norbert, be advised, you have to frame it into I and go for Mr. Cook and convince him that it is his favorite methodology. And that is
I sales and I marketing.
I waterhole, I sales, I marketing, and I am surprised. Yeah, if that wouldn't work out.
Okay, I'm looking for a US publisher.
Cool. And coming from this perspective, we should try a bit to look into the crystal ball together. 2023, as you see a lot of shit going down the rivers and going down the media, there is my assumption that we need a bit more focus on positive things. We have already mentioned emotions. We have already mentioned empathy. We have had Dr. Natalie the second time with empathy in action and worked on the topic that the proper empathic approach to potential and existing customers and fellow employees or fellow citizens is mandatory in those times such we have had them in the pandemic period of the last 2 years. Those companies which are not broke yet are facing a walk through the desert, the Death Valley desert area, with just one bottle of water. That is my assumption. Mm-hmm. So from the bottom of my heart, I encourage to be more empathic, to show more empathy to other people, and to put in that allegation another one, share your water and help to survive, that we can pass this Death Valley period and get out there stronger. And the dumbness of organizations which let go of their brilliant people, which is one of their most important assets, is, from my perspective, a wrong move. Now, as you are our guest, Norbert, I would give you the opportunity to share your view on how 2023 might develop from your perspective of expertise.
I think it's nearly the same. Thinking about Corona and the push for online meetings and working together online, I think it's always in the glass is half empty or half full. And so I think talking about the half full glass, it's about changing the gear. So use the potential of your marketing and of your sales. Bring marketing and sales together. This is in Germany is one of the major issues, that marketing and sales live on different planets. Not talking about silos or cities or countries, but planets. And it's crucial to bring them together to change in the next gear and use the power that's still in your marketing and in your sales. And I think the next step is thinking processes over all systems and all platforms. Not only thinking in CRM area and marketing automation area and whatever area, think processes over all systems, and therefore it's crucial to integrate the systems. So in Germany it's very new, early again, talking about iPaaS platforms. So bringing systems together in no coding approach, fast, easy, not talking about 9 months and 100,000 euros, but having an integration in 2 days. And I think this is also an enabler for success in marketing and sales. If you bring your systems together, we often talked about CDPs, Ralph. ITL process, extract, transform, load, bring all the data on one place, clean the data, structure the data, transform the data, and load it again in your marketing automation or email marketing tool. And I think these are the topics that companies should look at in the next year. We don't have to talk about artificial intelligence and the metaverse and all that stuff. If we're selling complex offers in the B2B market, it's better to take a look at the integration of the systems instead of dreaming.
Marshall, your perspective on the next year.
Well, I guess it would be bad for me to say that it will be an AI-driven metaverse that we're moving into. Complete joke. I think that what we're looking at in 2023, hopefully a bit of a return to what we thought was normal before normal changed. But I also think that we have learned that customers are perfectly capable of buying things on their own. And sometimes they need to be pushed. Sometimes they need to be pulled. But they do not like being worked on. So anyone who can find a way to empower their customers to do more of the selling work on themselves is going to do very well. They have to accept that that's okay. The figure is what, 60 or 70% of the sales journey is done before a customer ever speaks to a vendor. That's okay. That's 60 to 70% of work you didn't have to do. That's the way to go, in my opinion. You do the hard work filling in where you aren't getting the sales, not where you already are.
I call that often stop selling, enable them buying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make them do the shopping. Yeah. Invite them for let's go some lead shopping, such as convince and consult customers to their benefit. And it's not on the hardcore hit, buy you idiot, but it is fantastic choice, marvelous. And you could go even for the scarf fitting to your fantastic dress, lady. Yeah, that is the smarter approach. Advisory at his best to his benefit. Yeah. And what I'm afraid of a bit is that we have the ages. I wrote down and made some notes on the re. We will have refocus, reorg, revise, revolve, restructure.
Regurgitate.
Yeah. And everything which has to do in number crunching for those idiots in the financial departments. And I'm not a big fan of those, trust me, because they can only do number crunching and not emotional thinking. They lost their brains on the road. Yeah. Or they gave them to the porter when they entered the building, such as their dresses or parts of their dresses, their coats. Yeah? They gave away their coats at the wardrobe, such as with their brains. And then they are just functioning. And when they leave the building, they get their brains back, their emotional brains, at least. So what I'm afraid of is that in German is the 5 E's: emotional, empathetic, effective, efficient, and the last one is erfolgreich, to be successful. Unfortunately, in English, not with an E. And that we need more than just the ROI drive and the short-term ROI drive. When you look into the social media and find a lot of SAP people that they prefer to go for at least a 1-year perspective on how a customer is developing, that is more to my liking, to take the attitude not of a quarterly driven hell back to a more patriarchic driven, family owned business attitude, which is more thinking in the longer run, or you could say the Chinese approach. What is it, 10 years, 20 years, and they are going for ruling the world. Yeah. And they're not writing books about it. They just do it. Yeah. Just analyze how they change their access to resources. And another thing is happening, which is very important. It's the 5 F's, stolen by Rosebeth Moscanta. Fast, focused, friendly, flexible, and some fun. And I put a 6th one on it, to be fair. Yeah? Fair is very important if you want to combine emotion and empathy to that. And I believe that we will see that the shit is hitting the fan next year in a lot of areas, and that what I call the year of survival will come on those which are unprepared. And to get budgeting in the next 2 weeks is a hell of a job and nearly ridiculous. Yeah. So they will not manage if they start running for being prepared now. So I believe that it is smarter to get the teams together and have some rethinking after people had hopefully some days of peace of mind, getting out of the hamster wheel and relax a bit and start thinking again, also with their heart, which I would love to see. Yeah? So this is the last episode before Christmas. I would like to offer you, Norbert, an opportunity to wrap up a bit your thoughts on this last before Christmas episode, because we will have an end of the year episode on the 27th. So what are your thoughts on the next year and on that episode, and what would you like to advise folks which have listened so continuous driven and emotional driven till now and are with us still, or will see that video cast?
So from me, I look from the glasses half full perspective. And I would recommend, if you haven't started now, then now is the right time point. Take a look at the possibilities, take a look at the momentum. And again, a picture. I don't know if you know that in English, in the American world, we say, if you want to eat an elephant, so start with small slices. And it's the same with digitalization. Don't try to do it all in one step and reach 100% in 6 months. And please don't look at that damn low-hanging fruits. There are no low-hanging fruits. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared, and you have to start. And yeah, it's hard at the beginning, but start with the small slices of the elephant.
Well said.
It's a long way to the desert. And if you start walking, do not give up too early and die on the way. Get yourself prepared with enough water and food and the right guides, which is extremely important.
And reach out for the water holes, Ralf.
It's important to be as smart as a Bedouin, to know where the water holes are, and make your travel arrangements with the right guides, which are guiding you through a tough year properly. And such advisory is given by strike2 or the CRM evangelists. With this, my dear fellows, I would like to close our session, and I'm grateful for everybody who has stayed with us and was tuned in and will, in a long tail, look at our fantastic hour of inspiring information. Thanks very much. Take care and see you next Tuesday.
Thank you.
And we go now backstage. Please stay with us. If I